Well, we're streaming right now, so you should be able to like that or share it or do something. You see it?
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other people with questions? Any other people with questions? All right, then I think it is time to begin. First of all, it does not look like a good night for mics. It keeps cutting out. We will see what happens here. If anyone has a cell phone, part of the reason the mics may be cutting out is that if you have your cell phones on, they can actually interfere with these FM mics. So not just alarms off, but if the phone can be off completely, that may help. Next, we have a very full room tonight, and it's encouraging to see how many of you care enough to come out into this very crowded room on a Friday beautiful night to care about our civic politics. I really hope we can overcome these mic problems. We'll see, but if you can hear me anyways, thank you so very much for being here. It's really encouraging to see so many people caring about the kind of leadership we get in Comox. To the candidates, we are blessed by having these positions being challenged. It's fantastic that you've been willing to put yourselves forward. I know you give up a great deal of privacy in your lives when you put your name forward, and you certainly will not get rich on the money you get from this job. So thank you so much for serving our team. It is my expectation tonight that when these candidates leave, they will feel that they've been appreciated and respected, and I already have a good feel in the room that is going to happen. Some bookkeeping details we need to take care of. The sponsors for the evening is the Comox Tomorrow group, and it's a group of Comox residents who want the next civic election to offer us visionary, passionate candidates who listen and respond, people who will help Comox achieve its potential. So, thank you very much, Comox Tomorrow. I won't be going through a list of names, but there is one person that they have asked me to recognize, and that's Jim Whitehead. Jim, are you here someplace, or are you tucked away behind, as always? Yes, he is. He's worked tirelessly to make this happen. He's never recognized for what he does, so Jim, thank you so much. When the candidates are speaking tonight, I would ask you not to applaud at all or to make any kind of comment whatsoever. It detracts from the time that we have, and it's also kind of off-putting. So if you would just listen respectfully, please, it would be appreciated. Emergency exits. Emergency exit here, please be aware of that. Obviously, the doors we came through and out at either end. Washrooms are just outside in the hallway. All right, so how does it work tonight? Can everyone hear me, by the way? Yes. Great. The way it's going to work this evening is that we've got quite a few questions that have already been written out. I'm guessing a lot more than will actually get answered. What's happened is those questions have gone into the kitchen area, and they're being sorted into 10 piles or groups. Then each of those groups or piles will have a representative question taken from it, and they will be brought to me, and I will read one from each of those categories. Something that I know that there are a lot of people in this room tonight that have probably got very passionate, very strong views on a variety of topics. And it's going to be kind of disappointing because of the way this operates tonight. We may get as few as 7 or 8 questions. We may get 12 or 13. We'll just see how it all works. The candidates will start off with the 2 Mayoralty candidates, Russ and Tom, getting 4 minutes to make their presentation. Then the other candidates will simply come down this line alphabetically, and they will get to make a 2-minute presentation. Then I will ask the first question. So the first question will actually come to you, Russ, right? and he gets to answer the first question. But the second question will come to you, Alex. And then the third question, you will start with it, and we work our way down the line. The candidates can choose not to answer the question, or just say pass, or the person, somebody else gave the answer that I agree with. That's completely up to them. But they have, for the first question anyways, 50 seconds, 50 seconds to answer the question. They have an additional 10 seconds of run-on, but they've really run out of time at that point, and at 10 more seconds, a red signal goes up from here, and that means they have to stop in mid-sentence. Yes. All questions will end at about 8:45, and at that time, the candidates and you will have a chance to mix and mingle, and getting close to 9:30, we'll need to close the place down because the caretakers still have work to do. So we expect the place cleared at 9:30, and I will give you a heads up on that when that happens. Very, very difficult to be a candidate, and we all, realize when we hear answers on TV debates and radio debates and things, that very often the candidates will not answer the questions directly. I believe in the respectful environment that we already are establishing tonight, that probably will not happen. And I know that 4 years ago, I was really moved by how honest and how candid the candidates were in their answers. If you've got good questions, no preambles, no opinions or statements, just a question, I'm going to expect that we're going to get the most honest answers that we possibly can. I think we are ready to start at this point, and so we'll be starting with you, Russ, for your 4-minute presentation. Feel free to stand or sit, whatever is most convenient to you.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm Russ Arnott, and I'm asking for your support to be the next mayor of Comox. I don't ask this lightly. I believe I've proven myself to the community as a strong, experienced, and committed elected representative for 7 years. I've been a board member or volunteer for many groups, such as YANA, Salvation Army, Community Justice, Downtown BIA, and as a proud Rotarian. Rotary states service above self in its 4-way test. That is what defines my desire to take this next step as your mayor. As someone who gets out in the community tending to these various roles, I'm able to interact with many residents of Comox and the Valley as a whole. I hear their stories, I can offer assistance, and then I take this information to the council table with me to help in my decision-making responsibility. It's important not to work in isolation, but to be out in our community and to be a part of our community. As mayor, I will have the knowledge and desire to move us forward. I'm familiar with the structure, the parts that make it move, and the skill to keep the momentum going. With me tonight, you see a lot of new faces, new people interested in serving on council, and that's what makes this an exciting election. We have 2 incumbents and 7 newcomers running for elected office. No matter the results on election night, this will be a big change on our town council. As your new mayor, I will offer stability and experience as this group comes together to keep Comox moving forward. I've had a chance to talk with most of the candidates for council, and the general consensus is that we are moving in the right direction. 4 years ago, we saw Comox missing the energy to engage its residents. We missed some of the social interaction we previously had. We needed to continue to push for a better Comox. Those seeds have been planted, and they're starting to sprout. Soon, we will have brew pubs to socialize in, some new businesses to shop in, and families have been enjoying the very popular marina enhancements, such as the splash park and the food vendors. Comox is changing, but we're still that charming town we've all come to love, and it will grow in a way that maintains and enhances community livability. The improvements to our downtown core have made it even more appealing. We have growth, but it's balanced growth. We have an official community plan that is owned by the residents of Comox and steers us into the future. This important plan was built from the bottom up by you and was adopted in July of 2011. To date, we've had only 3 amendments to it. 2 for the protection of eagle nests and heron nests, and 1 for coach homes. This tells me it's working. However, it is a living document, and we will review it and collectively make it a better roadmap for our future. Comox Council acknowledges the affordable housing concerns facing our community. We have streamlined the process to build secondary suites, cutting away much of the red tape. We have recently approved 89 apartment rentals. We work with developers under the town's housing affordability strategy, where the town looks for a 10% land or cash in lieu contribution. We direct these funds to the Coalition to End Homelessness to help where they see fit. All in all, Comox has much to be proud of. We're debt-free, and we're one of the safest communities in British Columbia. We will continue to build on our successes. We will review what we did right and where we can improve. Our strength comes from community engagement and public consultation. As mayor, I will lead this over the next 4 years. I offer you change and experience. I look forward to serving you as mayor and ask for your support October 20th. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if the mic works. If the mic doesn't work, does my voice work? Yes. Wonderful. Hello? Working?
Go back behind though, because it's getting cut out of here.
Better?
No. Use his mic.
Yeah, use his mic.
Russ, can I steal your mic?
I think I said something about collaboration.
Testing. Oh yeah, this feels better.
I warmed it up for you.
All right. Okay, good on volume?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to read, sorry, I don't usually do this, but there's a lot of pressure tonight. I want to get this right. So, back behind the table. Welcome, friends, neighbors, and Comox band members. Thank you for listening to the candidates tonight and for sharing your questions. My name is Tom Diamond, and I'm excited to tell you what I can offer as your new mayor. I am a 10-year resident, a husband, a father, a small business owner on Comox Avenue. I speak with many citizens every single day. I am in touch with Comox. As a counselor, I help people improve sleep, anxiety, brain fitness. If you want to talk to me about this later, that's fine. But as an industrial psychologist, I built teams and I trained leaders in 100 organizations across Canada and the US, both public and private. So I have a lot of experience also running small businesses, leading university programs. I have 30 years of experience working at all levels of organizations. I have never been a politician, and that is a good thing. Because I'm not stuck with yesterday's baggage. I'm an independent thinker, I have an open mind, and I have very fresh, very new ideas. So let me tell you some of those. First of all, I learned very quickly. I hire very smart people and smart advisors, like Brooke Finlayson, who's my campaign manager. Thanks, Brooke, for your awesome campaign management. Brooke brings generations of family and a long history of service to Comox. So I surround myself with people like Brooke. I know how to bring the right people together, inspire collaboration, and turn ideas into results. This election, I believe, is all about change. All of these new candidates signal that people want change in Comox. We don't want more red tape or status quo. We want government to keep its promises and deliver results that residents need and want. Comox needs an upgrade. Let's up our game at Town Hall. Let's prevent union battles. Let's speed up processes. Let's honor our duty to Mac Lane Park. We need council to be more transparent, more accountable, accessible, and available for public input. Let's upgrade the marina and services at our fantastic airport and create more activities for youth and families. Let's clean up our streams and increase fish-bearing waterways. Let's revitalize downtown Comox so it stays open for shopping and dining and fun after 5 p.m. Let's let's make life more affordable with better public transit, lower taxes, better paid jobs that close the huge gap between our average $61,000 household income and our average $540,000 average home price. My God, that gap is huge. And it doesn't take a PhD in psychology to know that's nuts. We can't keep doing that. We've got to fix that. We've got to fix the gap between income and housing price and affordability for life in general. And we will fix affordability with economic growth. Comox needs more job-creating, sustainable businesses like aviation maintenance, high-tech, education, and tourism, and better support for small business and local entrepreneurs. Help me turn no-mox into go-mox and learn from Cumberland and other towns who grow their economy and lower their taxes. People ask how I will cut taxes. Well, I won't cut anything until we grow our economy. And we shift our revenue base from relying on property taxes to relying on commercial revenues that keep taxes low for residents and businesses. So it may take a few years before we can afford major tax cuts like I would like to see, but it's a long-term process. In the meantime, I promise to vote against any cuts to jobs or services. We can do better with new leadership, fresh ideas, and open minds. Thank you.
Also, Hados, good evening. Thank you all for coming. Wow, look at this room. So I'd like to start my intro by respectfully acknowledging that we are living on the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nations. So a few months ago, our outgoing mayor, Paul Ives, encouraged youth to put their name forward in this election. So here I am. I decided to step up to this challenge because I'm passionate about Comox. I care about this community. I'm determined and I'm equipped to serve all the residents, and that with energy and commitment. I'm 31, yes, I'm a millennial, and a civil engineer with a master's degree in engineering. I've been a renter in the past. I've also been a homeowner for close to 10 years. Also, for the past 7 years, I've been a landlord, and I've even taken a shot at renting my house out on Airbnb. I have LED light bulbs in my home, and I compost. I've got rain barrels attached to my gutters, and I grow my own veggies. I bike to work when it's sunny out, and I keep mason bees and honeybees in my backyard. I donate to charity, and I volunteer when I can. I shop local and at thrift stores, and buy most of my building supplies at the Restore. I pay my bills on time, and when I want that new snowboard or that new mountain bike, I sell painted furniture or handmade shelves on social media or on Craigslist. You know what? I work hard, and I always take the time to help others out. I'm hands-on, and I can make difficult decisions. I celebrate victories, and I give praise where it's deserved. So at work, I manage a large team and a budget that is probably equal or even larger in size than the town's operations for here in Comox. I deal with a great diversity of stakeholders and manage priorities effectively. I'm a team player, I'm honest, reliable, and accountable. You see, I try to do my part in making this world a better place, but I know that we can always do more. Comox can do more. So we must count ourselves lucky to live here. When you vote on October 28th, vote for Alex Bissinger, because I commit to continuously improve our town for the benefit of all. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Don Davis. I was born and raised in Alberta and joined the Royal Canadian Air Force. In 1966 as an Air Force policeman. Later I moved to construction engineering section and I retired to Comox in 1990. I was on council from 1998 to 2005, serving on the design panel, the Harbour Authority, Community Justice Center, Chamber of Commerce, Regional District Sewer Commission, the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board, and my initiative led to a construction of a new library. This provided bigger space for the Pearl Ellis Gallery and Comox Archives and Museum. I've consistently attended council meetings as a spectator and as a councillor. This has given me knowledge and experience that will be invaluable to a new council. My mandate is core infrastructure. My top priority is affordable housing for all income levels of our community, in our community. Although recreation and aesthetic projects are beneficial to our community, our roads and sewers need to be upgraded to serve our growing population. By cooperatively working as a community, we will ensure
that Comox will continue to be beautiful, safe, and secure, and affordable place to live. My main focus is to have council reconnect with the community and get more input from the public before decisions are made. The public should be able to contact their council without complication, and community involvement must include our First Nations. Town facilities must be environmentally sustainable, and we must look out for the best interest of seniors and those with diverse abilities. By improving accessibility, upgrading sidewalks, crosswalks, and traffic lights and related infrastructure. My vision for Comox is our community continues to be safe, secure, and affordable place for all segments of society to enjoy and live in. I've dedicated 26 years of my life to try to fill this position, and I hope that I'll be able to serve you well.
Good evening, I'm Ron Freeman, and I'm married to Eunice, who's in the back there. We have 3 children, one in Alberta, one in Minnesota, and one in Australia. You didn't need that. And we have 8 grandchildren spread around as well. I am right now part-time employed at the base as a security officer with the commissioners. I've also done renovation work and worked with an industrial painting contractor, been a stay-at-home dad, and the bulk of my employment has been as a pastor of 3 different churches here on the island, which is why we came here in 2010 to take over a small group of people, of about 12, which is now a thriving church of 160 called Living Hope. I've been involved when we were in Sydney, which is where we came from. I was involved in the PAC. I was the board chair there. And then when we came up here, I was a stay-at-home dad for a bit and worked with the PAC here. I've also been a board chair of the Pregnancy Care Center and with Habitat for Humanity. My wife and I also bought a house to use as a second stage house for men who were coming out of the recovery program and needed a place to stay that was safe until they could get themselves back on their feet. We worked with a society that I was the board chair of, but unfortunately the society was not able to sustain itself, and we had to close the house down, which I feel bad about. As I said, I was with Habitat for Humanity as the board chair, and then I stepped down and was the interim executive director for a while until the board hired Pat, who has been a great addition to Habitat here in the Valley. I'm here because I like the trajectory of the town. I like where it's going, and I want to keep it moving forward. Thank you.
Is this working? No? Thank you. Your microphone plan is working. Is it not working?
Is it working?
No.
No, there we go. Is it working? Yes. Well, thank you for coming tonight, and thanks to James Taylor and the Comox Tomorrow Group for hosting this event. I've been lucky enough to have been elected to Comox Council for 4 terms, and it's been an honor to serve this great community for 13 years. In that time, many things have been accomplished, from getting our strategic plan in order, an asset management plan in place approximately 10 years ago, something that many communities in this province and country struggle to even get started, as well as sticking to our core services, which are administration and financing, land use planning, engineering, parks and rec, and fire safety. Doing this has led us to become debt-free, a major accomplishment for any town, as well as building the water park, the pickleball courts, fitness and gymnastics facilities, and the walkway at Lazo, to name a few. We have also been used as an example for our work on the restoration of Brooklyn Creek. Our new stormwater management plan is considered to be the highest standard in the province and is a leader in sustainable development. For the next 4 years, I will work hard to continue the good work that has been done at Marina Park and the vitalization of our downtown. I look to the Lazo Trailway, connecting the trailway from the waterfront walk at the Lazo boat ramp and continuing that around Knight Road, and also getting our industrial lands at the airport ready for clean industrial tax base and well-paying jobs. As we near the election date, with 4 of 6 councillors stepping down and a new mayor to be elected, I believe my experience will be critical to making sure Comox remains a leader in this province. We have all seen what big change for council can do, and we only need to look to the communities that have made big changes to witness how easily things can go awry. I ask for your support on October 20th to keep Comox moving in a positive, sustainable, and financially sound direction. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you very much for coming tonight. My name is Chris Haslett, and there's lots of reasons that I'm here tonight. The main reason is I love Comox.
Closer to your mouth and horizontal. Might help.
Again, thank you all for coming tonight. I'm a third generation Comox resident. I'm raising a fourth generation in my two young twin daughters. I do have a young family that I'm very committed to serving, as well as I have a strong ties to the valley as well. My background is in oil and gas as well as insurance. For 10 years, I lived down in Victoria with my girlfriend and now wife, where I ran a GIS mapping department, and we did projects all over Western Canada, into the Yukon, as well as international projects in Europe. In that time, I had a team of 5 people. We did project management up to 15 to 20 programs at a time, so lots of balancing, lots of money changing hands. We did everything from government submissions to final planning, final mapping. And now I have taken that into insurance, where I'm a commercial insurance broker with Wasteland Insurance. And I'm using the risk assessment that I use every day to make sure that I'm looking out for my clients' best interests, because at the end of the day, they live in the same town that I do, and I want to make sure that they're taken care of. I'm strong-willed. I ask hard questions, and as Russ said earlier, I do believe in service above self, which is the main reason why I'm up here tonight. I want to make sure that this town is going forward the way I honestly believe it should. What I want to do is continue to grow the town while keeping it in touch with all the qualities that draw people here and brought people like myself back after moving away for 10 years. With so many changes coming to the council, I believe a strong leader is needed on both sides to look at the decisions that need to be made. I want to make efficient and educated decisions that are going to benefit the town and all its residents. And I promise to work tirelessly to ensure that Comox is the great town that I grew up in, and I look forward to raising my family here and working with you. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Stephanie McGowan, and I'm running for Comox Council. I appreciate you all taking the time to be here, and Comox Tomorrow for putting on the forum. Municipal government election turnout is paramount to shaping our town into what our citizens want it to truly be. I am running because I love our town, and I want my children to be able to grow up here, get good jobs here, find an affordable place to live here, and thrive here. This means a few things need to change. I bring experience from a variety of areas, from schooling in psychology and sociology, years of retail and customer service, bookkeeping, and my current position as office manager at a local private counseling office. I feel I bring a balanced and thoughtful voice to the council. We get ahead and make progress by listening to all viewpoints and gathering as much information as we can. Logic can have a heart, and council needs both to create a forward-moving, accountable, and inclusive place that residents want to live. The demographics have shifted, and we are a growing number of young people in town. We need fresh, new ideas with the flexibility of someone who will listen and adjust based on new evidence. We also need someone who will stick to their ethical convictions. My commitment to honesty, sustainability, and hearing all sides of an issue are strengths I plan to bring to council. If elected, I will tackle our affordable housing crisis. I will look to the present and the future to see how we can prepare our town for the inevitability of climate change. I will look at how we can support all of our residents in their pursuit of mental and physical health. I will work to preserve what is left of our trees, parks, and heritage. I will listen. So remember, Stephanie McGowan, number 5 on the ballot. Thank you.
So I took good note of the emergency exits because I was really nervous. But now I'm okay, I think. So hey everybody, I'm Pat McKenna. I'm running for Comox Council. Thanks to the group from Comox Tomorrow for hosting tonight. And I'm currently the executive director at Habitat for Humanity, so that's my current role. I've been in that role for 3.5 years. I was born in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, the last of 7 children. Got a woo. Last of 7 children, to a pharmacist father and a home nutritionist mother. I've been married for 25 years to Jeannie, and she's a math instructor at North Island College. And we have a 19-year-old daughter who's attending university at Memorial in University of Newfoundland. And it's Friday night, so I'm sure she's studying. I'm running on a platform of sustainable development, safety, bringing community together, and arts, culture, and heritage. So I have a 10-year track record really in not-for-profit, and I have a 20-year plus track record in corporate retail with Home Depot, Target. And I worked for my dad when I was 12 till I was 17. That's probably the best experience I've ever gained, to be honest. But I know how to analyze numbers, crunch numbers, and make them last. So I'm a 15-year resident of the Comox Valley. I'm an actor, I'm a singer, I'm a poet, but I'm also a business and I'm a community leader. I feel that I have a unique skill set that it is awesome and will help the town of Comox conduct their business on a daily ballot. And I wrote this before you said your line, which was awesome. I'm number 3 on the ballot and number 1 in your hearts.
Can you hear me? It doesn't feel like it's working right now. Is it okay? Oh, there you go.
Oh, my time's up. Okay.
Tech support.
I know a guy.
I know a guy. I'm sorry, Okay, hello, my name is Maureen Swift, and I'm running for re-election in Comox Council. I've been successful twice, and it's my sincere desire to continue to serve and steward the community on your behalf. Municipal governments are called upon to deliver a host of services that have a significant impact on the quality of our daily life. The core services are sewer, water, garbage, parks and recreation, infrastructure such as the roads and the pipes that run beneath our streets, land use through planning and zoning, safety through our stellar fire department and our contract with the RCMP, and last but not least, we contribute and support arts and culture. So we're called upon to do a lot. Some of the initiatives I would like to pursue include seeking economic opportunities that would see development of our industrial lands by the airport, continued enhancement at the marina, maintaining infrastructure at a rate that keeps taxes affordable, initiatives that contribute to a vibrant downtown, improvements in our air quality, working to eliminate single-use plastics, and finally, creation of a dog park. I have gained understanding and knowledge at the council table, as well as experience at the regional level. A vote for me is a vote for continuity and experience. It's gratifying to see so many new people willing to stand for election. It takes courage and commitment. I would like to throw in a challenge to you. Let's be one of those communities that has a voter turnout that proves how much we care. Thank you for your time and interest in coming out tonight. Now all you have to do is vote.
Okay, so good evening. Can everyone hear me at the back okay? Okay, so welcome to everyone who has come out this evening. My name is Nicole Minions, and I am running for your Comox Council. So thank you so much for being engaged to come out this evening. I know some of these faces, and many of you are new to me. So I want to answer 3 important questions for you this evening. So why am I running right now? The reason is because I live in Comox, I work in Comox, I volunteer in Comox, and my whole life is surrounded in Comox, which means I'm talking to neighbors, I'm talking to people on my volunteer committees, and I'm really hearing what the feeling on the community level is. So it was a really great time for me to decide to step forward. It's also important to see women leaders stepping forward that are going to be here for 50 years to come, hopefully. So those are the 2 reasons I chose to run now.
What experience do I have to run for council? I myself grew up in a very math-focused home, and so as fun as that wasn't all the time, it led me to my first career, which was just over 10 years in the banking industry. So I, like Pat, am a number cruncher, and I love going through budgets and accounting and getting into the grit of it all. And in that role, the last 3 years, I was in a community relations management role, and I was managing a budget of about $4 million that would go to nonprofit organizations, education, different schools, and basically making decisions of where the biggest need was for money to get allocated to. So that really got me started in the numbers management. From there, I went into the nonprofit sector, and for 2.5 years, I was an executive director for SOS Children's Village, BC, which is in the Lower Mainland. So I did some governance there, some number crunching. It had a lot of different components to it, so that's my governance background. Lastly, I'm really about grassroots public community engagement. So happy to have teas and talk with everybody. And I'm last on the ballot, so last but not least, and it's Nicole Minions. Please consider. Thank you.
All right, so now we enter into the question portion, and each candidate has 50 seconds to answer with an additional 10-second run-on. And we started this end with you, Russ. The first question is, how will you create jobs and affordable housing to make Comox more attractive to young people?
I know this one. There's a young fellow in here tonight, and I'm not going to name him, but he is a major at the CFB Comox. What the town of Comox did was they provided some incentives through a PILT program, it's payment in lieu of taxes, and they've encouraged the fixed wing SAR building to come into Comox. So this young man, he forego a opportunity to become a lieutenant colonel, go elsewhere, and he's staying here, and he's taking a full-time job at this new fixed wing SAR facility, and he's going to raise his family here. We have invested a lot in that. That is going to invest a lot into our community. We as a council have taken many steps to streamline the process, as I said in my speech, about secondary suites. It's an easier process. I know a young fellow who has taken that opportunity. He was able to buy his first house. We also have the apartment that's going to be built on Anderton. It will provide rentals. And these are things that we're chipping away at, and we're hoping that these types of initiatives will help us all.
Do you want the question repeated?
Can we pass that down? So we
Want the question
So creating more jobs for young people is definitely a challenge that I know Russ is a big challenge for. But in terms of affordable housing, I think we need to continue to move in the direction that we've been moving by improving more developments that are multi-unit houses, so or multi-unit suites such as the apartment building as well. All of the secondary suites that we're putting in, those are great. I think we need to make that system a bit easier for residents in order to achieve secondary suites and create more affordable housing for younger generations to come.
When they built the mall, they built a brand new standalone building, and they got this great big loft upstairs. And they gave an explanation about that, but that didn't really satisfy me, because I worked in the drafting industry and as a carpenter, and I hate void space. That would have been an ideal opportunity to put apartments up there for people to build, to live in. The people that work in the shops could work in the shops, they could live upstairs.
Keep going for another 2 seconds, please.
I think I got all their extra time. I'll take it.
You're going to have to get an egg timer.
The number one thing I heard when I was a counselor, there's not enough jobs for young people. And I think I see some people here that have figured it out. You want a job, pick up a hammer, pick up a shovel, and go to work like these guys did. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but there is work out there if you want it.
I think all of us need to be ambassadors of Comox, and we need to, wherever we go, talk to business owners out there and ask them to, hey, consider Comox. I think our tourist industry needs to attract, as the tourists come in, we can attract them and say, hey, I'd like to move here and do a house. I know, my time's not
It's
up.
okay.
I know.
You're good.
I'm good.
This is
I'm
bad,
good.
you're good.
A couple from France came over, they stayed in the bed and breakfast, they said, hey, we like this area. We're going to move here and put in a business. Now we need to make the process easy for them to do that. I think with affordable housing, we need to do the infill like we've been talking about with secondary suites. We need to hold our developers to making affordable housing part of their projects, so that we can have young families move here.
My turn? Okay, thank you. I think I said in my introduction that we really need to get looking at our industrial lands out of the airport. We've really been hamstrung on that for the last about 11 years with stormwater management. As I said, we've now got that organized. I think that's where we can get some good, clean, high-paying jobs that will bring a lot of young people. I know that the Anandia Cannabis Research Center is bringing 35 PhD jobs to our community. So these are all the kinds of things I think that we can do. I think we need to continue with the vitalization of our downtown, and that will help bring some jobs. As far as housing is concerned, we already are well underway with secondary suites. We've been passing those for about 10 years. Carriage houses as well, small lot subdivisions. We have about 90 apartment buildings coming in Comox. There's about 100 coming in Courtney. North Island College is looking at applying for 200. So the affordable housing picture is really a supply issue. And I think that as that supply starts coming on, you'll see that, and the jobs, as I said, I think are out at the base and out at the airport and downtown. Thank you.
I think what we need to do, I do agree with Ken that the development out near the airport is a very good place to start. I think working with the developers to move the permits through quickly and efficiently will allow for more developments to start quickly, and that will then start a downtrend with housing pricing and rental pricing as more units are available. As you build, there's jobs to come, so the more people that are coming into town, they're going to be able to, you know, frame, as Don had said, or roofing, or plumbing, or electrical, or whatever it may be. It's a lot of it's trade-oriented, but as well as the downtown revitalization project, that is bringing more and more stuff to the downtown core that's allowing for businesses to start to open up and thrive.
Yeah, I agree. Densification, it was definitely a good idea. Diversification of businesses downtown, and being ready with land and plans for the provincial and federal money that's going to be coming through for affordable housing incentives is really important as well. At the moment, the living wage in the valley is $16.59. Which means that about 40% of renters pay 30% or more of their income, and almost 20% pay 50% or more, which is not an acceptable place to be. But nobody's really getting ahead. So bringing new businesses and bringing the jobs, sorry, bringing the housing up, so that, yeah, bringing the jobs and the housing into that.
Yeah.
Completely threw me off.
Stephanie, you're awesome. Remember that old Seinfeld episode? What is that noise? How it went. So affordable housing, when you have safe affordable housing, people can focus on building community. Like affordable housing is my middle name. It was awkward writing it in high school, but that's what it is, and I'm the executive director for Habitat for Humanity. Partnerships, working with all levels of government, working with developers, encouraging them for sure to do affordable housing as part of what they're doing, but you know they have to make money as well. As they make money, those are big paying jobs. We'll all have stronger investment around community. The diversity of housing, and somebody said it, is really key because then people of all ages, of all lifestyle interests, it's diversity that gives the residents flexibility. Again, you know, things we can do, bonus densification, affordable housing covenants, DCC waivers, all those kind of things will help affordable housing grow. And we can't fix it in Comox. Everybody has to fix affordable housing.
Okay, so thank you. One of the things that I'm hoping to achieve in this next term would be to have the development of those industrial lands out by the airport. We do have the cannabis research facility coming, and we also have the fixed wing, as somebody else has mentioned. But we're also well positioned. We have a fabulous airport out there. We have a wonderful shellfish industry, and perhaps some of our agricultural products could also be flown out of our airport and off to any part of the world. So there's lots of opportunity there. We just need some people that are willing to step up and come forward. And we're working closely with economic development as a starting place. Supply of affordable housing, again, it is a supply issue. We're very excited about the rental that is happening on Anderton, plus the infill, secondary suites, and the coach houses. So we're getting a variety of styles and sizes that should help with affordable housing.
So I think with affordable housing and jobs for younger people coming in, it's kind of a two-pronged issue. On the ground, talking to people, there are labor and industry jobs coming. So for me, affordable housing is the larger piece that's required, because we really can't create these jobs without that affordable housing first. So more multifamily use, more townhouses that military, seniors, families can be accessing. We don't have those coming at the moment with the new rental building. We need more multifamily housing, and we need more collaboration with developers. I think we can put a little bit more pressure and more community work. More community work with partners with land, such as Habitat for Humanity. And I think just acknowledging, and not saying affordable housing, but really acknowledging the massive supply challenge that we have, and being very proactive on that challenge is important.
Nothing beats an egg timer.
I've got my own timer, so don't worry about it. Okay, so
but I've got the paddle.
These solutions are taking 5 seconds. All of these solutions are very good, but we need to wrap them up in a big picture, big thinking strategy, not just for next year or the next 4 years, but for the next 20, 30, 40 years. I'm not only thinking about my 12-year-old son, but I'm thinking about his grandchildren. And we need to do more to grapple. We need a faster process to get new suites than 5 months to get a permit. That's too long. We need more than 89 rental units. We need hundreds. We need to be thinking like the Whistler Housing Authority that has 6,000 beds for working people and retirees that are affordable, that are reserved only for them. So we need that kind of structure, that kind of thinking, and I'd like to do that in a new OCP that really tackles the long term and protects our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to do a time check at this point. Everyone needed a minute for that one, so we'll just keep on at this point. All right, so the next question is, do you think the town of Comox is getting fair value for what we pay in taxes?
As a taxpayer, I think we do. I think we have great core services. We have transportation, we have roads that are in good shape. I think we have some good policing. We have some infrastructure. We're getting some cleaner water. We're getting some better facilities for that. I think the rate that we're going up at, the 2.4%, I think is reflective of cost of living. I definitely think that we could be getting more from our taxes, and that when I'm talking about environmental and sustainability, we've all got the message of the 1.5 degrees, so I think in terms of services, we need to look at our future as well, our sustainability, so I think there's more that the town of Comox can do in terms of that, and that should be a core service as well, as sustainability for generations to come. So lots of work, lots of improvement there. I definitely have a lot of ideas, and I'm hoping I can address those in an environmental question coming up.
Can we just stop using that?
I'm going to take the volume off on it.
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
Turn the volume
You can mute it.
off. Ready? Next question. Yep.
People like to use the term tax grab, and there is no such thing, because whatever they take in is exactly what they spend. So we do get fair value for our taxes, but I think we could put a little bit more effort into fixing some of the wonky sidewalks. People driving their scooters on the road, why are you on the road? Because the sidewalks are not very good. So we have to start fixing up that part of it. A lot of people know that I've been knocking on the doors and said, my street hasn't been paved in 40 years. And I think we've got to just pick up that pace a little bit. I was the one when I was on council that insisted we've got so many miles of road, let's pave so many miles a year and try to catch up to it. Maybe the pace of that has to pick up a little bit.
Yes, what she said.
Thanks, Ron. So I think last year we had a 2.3% tax increase. 1% of that goes to our union contracts that we have committed to, so we're really dealing with an increase of 1.3%. We also have an asset management plan, which, as I said, many communities don't even have, so we do look after our roads. As for what Don said, we can pave about 2 kilometers of roads a year. It's $150,000 for every 100 meters of road that we pave, so about $1.5 million a kilometer. So you can see that we have about 80 kilometers of roads in our community, so that's about a 40-year program, so you're right on the money. And that's about what an engineer will tell you a road lasts for. But I think we get fair value for our taxes when you consider that we have expected services that people want us to provide, and that we actually do keep up with our infrastructure as we go. Thank you.
I agree with both Alex and Ken. I think we are getting strong value for our taxes. A fresh set of eyes are always good, but in my opinion, the money that is coming in from the taxes are being spent very efficiently.
Well, I absolutely appreciate that Comox is debt-free, and that we need to be paying taxes to upkeep our services, our transit, our roads, and yeah, any surplus looking into the future for climate change and things that are going to be needed for our town, we'll be able to tackle those and plan for those with any tax surplus in the meantime.
You know, I agree with everything that's been said so far. The current council, I think they just completed an investment in a 5-year financial plan. So you have some moderate increases, 1.4 to 2.43, I think, in commercial and residential taxes. You know, it's amazing that I think there's 300,000 left to pay off, and then you're putting all your capital towards infrastructure. And I think that's really commendable of how the last council and mayor have led the town. And considering really that assessed values of properties have been rising astronomically, I think honestly the larger problem in Comox is affordability of housing, not taxes.
Thank you. I believe we get good value for our taxes. So we budget for about a 2% increase per year, and we do plan on a 5-year cycle. So we have a 5-year plan for which roads are going to be redone and sidewalks and so on. So we know when it's coming down the pipe. Traditionally, we try to have our businesses as an incentive to them. Their increase is 1% lower than whenever we determine the increase is. So we do have contracting obligations that we have to honor, and also we have some downloading from the province with our employers' health tax this year. So we may not be able to keep under the 3% tax increase that we've enjoyed in the last number of years. But we'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we should commend the mayor and council for the debt-free that they've gotten council to. That's a wonderful foundation for the future council to step forward. So something that some communities that are really thriving are doing, such as Cumberland, Squamish, Ladysmith, Ucluelet, is really looking at the social procurement process, which means we may maintain our taxes or keep below the cost of living, but putting more pressure on vendors and the people we're procuring from to give back for that same dollar. So that could mean donating, investing locally, but basically getting back something for the community for the dollars we're spending. So keeping the dollar value the same, but getting more value back. And that's working really well in other communities. That's something that locally Cumberland is doing. And in that way, we can hopefully make an impact on sustainability through our town purchasing process.
Thank you. sorry to be the odd duck out here, but as a leader, you can't always say the popular thing. You have to hold folks accountable. And many people are telling me they are not getting value for taxes, that they see their taxes rising year after year, and the services are not changing. I have a friend who moved from West Van, is paying very similar taxes. Compare our services to West Van. We have some room to grow, some needs to make up, some investment to pick up the slack, which I think we have slack in revitalization of the downtown, which has been talked about for a long time, but it still closes at 5. We have, should be investing in the airport. Yes, we're just about there, but it's been a 10-year journey. It's too slow. It's too slow. Development is too slow in general here, and the change in taxes is too much. And I'd like to speak to those of you who are interested in that more about this particular issue after the talk tonight.
Next question.
Russ has to answer that one. Although I could say ditto, 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 but I do have
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. They've all pretty much made some good points, but we've got 18 different hands out for our tax dollar. I'm not going to read them all, but there's community justice. We give money to them. We give money to the exhibition grounds, the transit. These are all asking for our tax dollars. 2.3% is not bad. We've shown from the previous year, we're on a stable rate. We're moving forward. I think we can next year keep it under 3%. We do have some challenges, but in a community our size, if you look provincially, you're going to see that we're one of the top, in the top 10 for keeping our tax rates the lowest. We're doing a lot with a little. We see other communities, they do a lot of hiring. We have a streamlined process. We're offering a lot to our residents. We'll continue to do that. Comox is that charming town. We're all here for a reason. We're not here because we want to be in Pemberton or we want to be in Squamish. We want to be in Comox. We want to make the best community that we can. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, the next question. What steps would you support to improve and protect our air quality?
We've come a long way in the recent years in more efficient wood stoves. So I think if they continue on in that vein and don't force people to automatically change over and give incentives for upgrading their equipment, I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we need to do a survey of what wood stoves are being used and make sure that they get upgraded and offer incentives for that to happen. I also think by cutting down less trees, we could help our air quality a lot because they absorb a lot of the emissions.
Thank you. So I brought a motion to the regional district. We currently have a wood stove replacement program. We give about $75 if you go up to the store and get your rebate. I think what happens is that people go to the store tells them to go down to the regional district and pick up their free $75, and I think that's a fairly wasted way of doing it. We just increased, the government just increased a grant from the province to increase our grant for that to $40,000 from 20. That would allow us to go to the hot spots in our communities, give a $1,500 rebate. That would replace 26 wood stoves in our community, and that would start making a real difference in the air quality. That could be for pellet stoves or other kinds too, but I think that the $75 rebate is kind of paying lip service to the issue. I think if we gave a real incentive to people that live in those houses, most of them are in the lower income areas and just can't afford to go and buy a wood stove for $1,500 or $3,000. So I've made that motion. It failed. I'll make it again.
I have, one of my kids has some respiratory issues, so this does hit relatively close to home for me. I do think that as they kind of progress and you're doing the new builds, wood stoves aren't the way to go. It's obviously not the most efficient way to heat, and it should be phased out where appropriate, where renovations are happening as well. I think another way of doing it is as it's not so much in Comox, but in the regional district when people are applying for permits for their burning, they need to be looking at the weather forecast as well to make sure that the smoke isn't just going to sit in the air for days and days on end and collect. That's kind of one of the big things that I see that's happening the most. Obviously, Ken touched on it, this wood stove rebate. There could be a more efficient way of getting that $75, but that is the right direction to go with that.
Yeah, it's definitely something that would need to be dealt with. We've got very terrible air quality compared to a lot of other places. We can, when a house is sold, making it an initiative to remove or replace the fireplace would be helpful. Preserving our green spaces and making sure that we do have the trees to make up for it and to give us back our air. Green initiatives for new builds, like using solar panels rather than or fireplaces, so that we don't have to. But as they were saying, it is a monetary issue for a lot of people. They can't just go out and throw money at their fireplace and hope that it gets better. So having a better rebate or something that can help them do that would take a huge step for that.
So when we put our name in for the race, you get emailed questions a lot from citizens, and one of the questions was around air quality. So the first thing I looked at, it was about wood burning. So then I realized the answer, men like fire, was wrong. And so, but when I think about this, it's climate change working with air quality, and it's almost an inseparable answer. So I think about transit, I think about e-mobility, I think about bicycles, I think about walking, and the transit system just went through an influx where a lot of Comox residents lost accessibility. So we have to go back and look at that. Of course, wood burning is a big part of it. Open burning, having policies around when and who can is so important to the air quality. When there's inversion, it's going to be worse. So a lot of logic, a lot of education.
Thank you. Okay. The Green Clean Air Group has done an amazing job of drawing attention to our air quality, and I believe it is best tackled at the regional level. Open burning is banned in Comox, and I would be willing to commit to having new builds not be able to install wood stoves, but I do recognize that we need to find some better sources for heating for many people. The other issue for us is that it really does need to be tackled at a regional level. We don't have open burning, but 400 to 500 permits are granted to the areas just outside our boundaries. So unless we tackle it as a regional issue, we're really not being very effective. Thank you.
Thank you. For a starting place with the air quality, I would like to see some localized surveys done to see how many of our residents do have the pellet stoves and wood stoves. And from there, we can looking at the grants that are currently being given and seeing if they can be raised, as Ken had mentioned. I am against or for looking at for new builds not having wood stoves put in, just as starting initiatives, so that we don't have to continue to put grants in place. And I really do think that it's something the UCVRD can be collaborating on because of the open wood burning, because of the transportation, and all of the different things that are adding to the air quality. So for the two council members from Comox that go, I think this will be a big regional district piece that we can discuss at a council level.
Thank you. Yeah, big complicated problem, like Pat says. We've got wood, we've got cars, we've got forest fires, all contributing to our challenges of air quality. New builds are a great idea. I don't want to see the problems put, once again, on the financial backs of the middle class and low-income earners. If you can be spending $150 a month on a wood stove for heat, you go to electric, that jumps up to $650 for some folks. That's way too much to force on regular earners like you and me. So we have to think that through on wood. Wood fires, long term for sure. But let's also look at cars and walkability. If we densify downtown, we get to things by more walking. If we have better public transit, again, we cut down on the number of vehicles contributing. Forest fires, I don't know. That's a big one. Thank you very much.
You always forget about me. So there's a guy in here that if I don't answer this right, he's going to burn me at a stake. So I have committed to the folks that I think this is an initiative that we need to move forward on. And hopefully as your mayor in the next 4 years that we will get some traction on this. Part of the problem is the particulate matter is 2.5. That comes from wood smoke. Fossil fuels is part of the problem, but it's the particulate matter. When we do have an inversion and that pushes the smoke down, that generally happens when it's chillier out. So when we have the inversion, we can't really say you can't use your wood burner because it is colder than when we don't have that. So what do we do about it? Well, Comox has done some stuff. We have banned backyard burning 10 plus years ago. Part of the problem is around us, they are not doing what they need to do. The Comox Fire Protection Agency, Gord Schreiner's group, they allowed 400 to 500 permits for burning in the regional area. There's none in Comox. So collectively, this is some, oh, sorry. This is something we all have to come together on. Right, Steve? Yeah.
I'll ditto everything about the wood stoves, but I think the target here is by 2050 we need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 80%, and that means reduce our energy consumption by 50%. So 2.4% is for the wood stoves is the problem, but let's look at transit. Let's make sure that we maintain a tree canopy cover of at least 50% or more in Comox like it is right now. Let's put some buttons for that. The OCP states that over 3/4 of the homes should be within 400 meters of a bus stop. So let's make sure that those transit routes respect that. Let's look at the environment that way. Let's look at solar panels, like it was mentioned before. Let's look at alternative energies. Wood stoves is one thing, and I definitely agree with everything that's been mentioned. But let's think beyond the wood stove and what actually makes an impact in our air quality and greenhouse gas emissions.
All right, the next question. Are you pleased with, or do you have concerns with the way Comox is handling growth?
Yes and no. I'm pleased with some of the growth that they're doing, the infill, that sort of thing. I'm not pleased with some of the growth I see in the other areas where they're allowing clear cuts going on. I think there are stands of trees that we can save and make the developer work a little bit harder around the trees rather than just cutting them all down. There was a bit of an issue on Beaufort Avenue. I was not pleased with what I saw there about a park that was supposed to take place, but has been filled in with a house. So there are some things that they've done well. There's lots of room for improvement, and I'd like to be a part of that.
Thank you, Ron. So as we manage growth, we have an official community plan, and that is a plan that's put together by the community. We had 25 public meetings over that, and that really is the piece that tells us where our growth is going. That's your plan that you asked us to implement. We also have a regional growth strategy. That tells us when and where we can move as we go out. We promote infill, and we really promote density too, to try and keep our infrastructure from getting too far and too wide. That's something that we've been doing for many years now, but I think that all in all, our growth is progressing at a rate that's just about what the public are looking for these days. Thank you.
I do feel that we are trending in the right direction as far as the growth is happening here. Obviously, the OCP and the RGS are what we look to go forward how the community wants us to develop the town. We are obviously needing more development, more people moving to town, and I think that is being addressed. Maybe not as quickly as it can, but it is being addressed. Bringing in the developers who are going to build in the complexes on Anderton, and again, even still going downtown.
Wasn't me.
Chris's supporters. I think looking to the future is obviously the way to go. The airport, up near Quality Foods, these are both areas that are able to have a bit of a development happen in there. And as the time comes, I believe that they're going to be taken a look at quite hard, and people are going to put their 2 cents in.
Yeah, the growth is, we are definitely growing and changing. And we have done a lot of really great things like the Marina Park and the densification of downtown. I am excited to revisit the community plan and growth strategy so that we can include some more diversification of housing, affordable housing, sustainable development requirements, and green incentives so that new builders coming in are building as best as they can for moving forward with our changing environment.
So coming here tonight, I was retrieving a sign from my car that you can come and see later. I ran into some people who were just moved here 30 days in from Alberta, and I was welcoming them to the Comox Valley. And like before me and before them, when I moved to the Comox Valley, I forget who I was talking to, but they said, "Welcome to the Comox Valley. It's really nice here. Please don't tell anybody about it." And so I've lived by that, so I don't know who everybody is in the room, but I'm sure you got here either before me. So what I like the mall renovation. I like the Berwick Comox Ave renovation that happened. It looks really nice. It finished well. What I don't like, well, there's other things I like. I mean, but what I don't like, again, I don't want to sound like a one-trick pony, but I do like ponies. I feel like Bob Wells right there on that. So, what I don't like, on Anderton Avenue, they put up a building. It's going to be 90 units in that building, and nobody asked them for affordable housing. Nobody put a covenant in front of them. Nobody. It has to be top of mind of staff and council to drive affordability.
We have used our OCP as the guiding document to manage growth in the community, and it is consistent with the regional growth strategy. So overall, I guess I'm pleased with that. We've encouraged density in the core, as you all have heard about many times already tonight. But we do that because that's where our infrastructure already exists. So we want to make a maximum utilization of that. We've got our infill suites, our secondary suites, our coach houses, our small lot subdivisions. We've got that nice townhouse development just off Anderton, and our rental accommodation that's coming. So I think we've got variety, and I'm pleased with the way it's going. Thank you.
So 3 years ago, an average house in Comox would have been approximately $325,000 to $350,000, and now we're looking at, in Comox specifically, it's actually closer to about $550,000 to $560,000. So we've seen close to 40% growth in the last 3 years. So I work downtown Comox, and what I do see is sites like the Lorne, Comox Elementary, which is school district land, and asking questions around, we haven't done enough strategic thinking on how we can collaborate with certain partners that hold land, with nonprofit organizations, and really champion the issue of affordable housing. So as Pat said, I think there's more that can be done. It's great that there's the 84 to 90 apartment building units going in, but there's more pressure that we can put on for the 2-year development process approximately that it takes from applying for a permit to building. I think we can fast track that for developments that work for our community. So for things like multifamily townhouses, things in the downtown core and densification versus building farther ranchers out that work for people coming here that have money. We need to look more at the affordable housing downtown.
Yeah, what Nicole said, basically. We need more. It needs to go faster. If you look at Cumberland, how far they've come, how quickly their downtown has become vibrant, that's where a lot of my friends and other people go for their evening out. Don't go to Comox Town for the evening out. We've got a few places coming up, that's great. They've had to fight long and hard to get here. Church Street took 2 years to get a pub there. It's too slow. It's too slow. The marina was supposed to be expanded a while ago. That was rejected. It fell on deaf ears. There's some other developments that where developers have turned around and left and gone to Apple River, gone to Cumberland, gone to Nanaimo, because our development is too slow, too much red tape. We need to fix that, and that's the only way we're going to fix affordability, and that's the only way we're going to get better employers here with better jobs, if we speed things up with a strategic focus where we're thinking 20, 30 years down the road and making the right plans and holding ourselves accountable.
So we kind of moved around here, affordable housing, away from the question and pleased with how Comox is handling growth. The affordable housing, I will touch on that because some people brought it up. Again, what I had said in my speech that we do provide 10% land or cash in lieu. That money does go towards affordable housing. We're constrained in this area geographically by the regional district and the ALR, the Agricultural Land Reserve. We can't continue to go out. But I also spoke about balanced growth. Well, the example of balanced growth is the Northeast Comox Stormwater Management Plan. That's that piece of land over towards the roundabout by the airport. So this is a leading edge technology that has just been approved by council. McElhaney has been working on it for a while. This will take all of your rooftop water and it'll put it back into the aquifer. We are going to hold on to the trees that we have. As Alex said, we have a 50% canopy cover in Comox. That's compared to, I think, 34 in Courtenay, 40 in Nanaimo. We're doing well with that. We are done.
I'm glad Russ touched on that, because that's what I was going to mention, is how I think we're inevitably moving towards growth that needs to be sustainable. And in this case here, consider if we are going to be putting in more housing or more industry by the airport, we need to consider our stormwater and the effects that it has on the town and on the infrastructure, and first and foremost on the environment. So I'm glad to see that climate change and the environment's being considered that way. I think we are limited in the amount of growth we can do. We have the infill housing, which is great. We have the apartments going in. How about that ALR land? Like, let's talk about food security a little bit. If we're talking about growth, let's make that land more usable. Let's grow more food in town. Let's make sure that we can actually use those lands, not just for flooding them, but also to feed the residents of Comox. If we're growing, we're going to have a growing need for food. So I think that's something that we need to explore as well.
Thank you very much. I like Comox so much that I moved here 3 times. Am I ever glad that they didn't put the drawbridge up sometime when I was posted to Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. And they're nice folks out there too, by the way. But when I was on council, we would hear these public hearings, and you can't vote into the regional district, you can't go up. Down is pretty expensive, so what they have to do is start utilizing the land better. 2 things that I noticed is they built the building at the bottom of Church Street. They said it's residential and it must have a commercial component. They built the commercial component, the residential never got built. There's something wrong with that picture. And another thing, a lot of people have just moved here recently say, what's up with this building height restriction? So if we can't go up, and down is pretty expensive, there's one other alternative, and we might have to start realizing that maybe it's time that we start thinking about going up. And I think that maybe we could do that. Thank you very much.
Are you in favor of amalgamation?
Yes or no? Yes or no? That makes for an easy answer. I'm going to say no. The chamber was looking at doing a study, and I supported that study. I know there's many challenges with amalgamation, especially in Comox where we're debt-free. The other communities are not. So that becomes a bit of a challenge, but I think there are other and better ways that we could govern. For example, we looked at we're looking right now at the regional district at a utilities commission for our water and sewer to get the politics out of some of the essential services that we have. and get more expertise on those boards so that we can get proper and good decisions made on them. So I really like the idea of the Chamber's study to find out if there are better ways to govern than the way we are.
With respect to amalgamation, Ken touched on it, Comox is debt-free. I think that is a great place for us to be. Although I'm not in favor of total amalgamation, I am in favor of shared services. There are definitely a lot of places where Comox, Courtenay, Cumberland, the regional district could look to work together to essentially save a bunch of our tax money and start effectively putting it back into the community.
Comox is in a very enviable position being debt-free, as they've mentioned, and I do know that when it's come up in the past, after receiving all the information, Comox residents voted, I believe, a 78% no. So that I am definitely in favor of partnering our services, sharing services, like we do with our pools and ice rinks and things like that, and looking at equalizing our fees. One thing about if we did amalgamate is that Comox has a volunteer fire service, and we would need to pay the firefighters, which would be very, very expensive. And I'm sure they would be great and wonderful as well, but that would be a massive tax implication.
Thanks. I'm not in favor of amalgamation. I am going to tell you a 30-second story. So Habitat deals with a lot of developers and development planning departments. Every one of them are understaffed because they can't find qualified people. So I would be in favor of amalgamating services, and in particular planning. So there's one set of rules for developers in the valley. I think for all those people that are in construction, it's a huge, huge trade in plumbing, electricians, and having one set of rules just makes sense. So I'd be in favor of that. I'd also be in favor, like I said, of a study that would allow us to really see if there's an economy of scale for amalgamating. At this point in time, Comox is too unique, and we do not want to amalgamate with the rest at this point.
Thank you. I said overall I'm not in favor of amalgamation. I think our communities all have their own culture and flavor, and we would be really keen to keep those. But when I hear the word amalgamation, I think of people really wanting efficiency in their government spending. And I think the way that we go about that is looking for ways to share those services, and I know we already do some with our recreation, economic development, water, sewage, solid waste are a few of the areas that we do share services in. I am in favor of a governance review and looking for other ways of governing that could possibly be more efficient. So a review would be great. And to add to that, if we had to pay for a police force, we would really have an increase in our taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, I am a no for the amalgamation. I do think it is important for the shared services to continue and have service reviews here in Comox and possibly individually in Courtenay and Cumberland. When it came to the council table about 2 months ago, something that resonated was there was no information on who was going to pay for the study, where it was going to be done, and it seemed too early to be able to say yes to that without more detail on what the costs, what the timeline, what the actual implications of the study would be before the study was committed to. So I think that without knowing some of those important details and not being provided where that's coming from, with the great position and the culture that we have here in Comox, it just makes sense to say no.
Yeah, I don't think it makes much sense. There's a lot of studies done on amalgamation around the world, and they generally don't work out. And if anyone wins, it's the bigger players, and the smaller towns lose. They pay more taxes, and they lose service. So I don't think it makes sense. Victoria is 14 municipalities. Many cities have lots of municipalities. You get to keep your freedom of choice. You get to keep your local public input. You get to keep your local community style and power. So let's do our share, but let's keep doing it through the regional structure that's working. You can always tune it up. that's where we need to go.
Thank you. Yes, I too am not in favor of a full-blown amalgamation. I do like the idea of shared services. Many of them touched on, Maureen touched on the shared services that we already have with our water and sewer through the regional district, with the seabeds that helps promote our economic development. I think we can do better. I think we need to sit down and look. One of the things I always thought is, if we have a dump truck and it's sitting there today and Courtney is working on something that they need somebody, we should be fleshing that out a little bit and see how that works. Because I think that is another idea that we can share those services. And it's like eating an elephant, a bite at a time. And I think we will come to that point where we naturally will amalgamate. It's going to be years away, but I think we need to kind of pick away at some of the things now that we can see if it will work or if it won't work without committing ourselves.
I'm not in favor either. I think, as it was mentioned, each community has its own personality, and I think amalgamation would, we would lose that essence that we have, I guess, which would be the downtown, like that's all the money and all the funding. So I think I think we need to continue to collaborate with the other communities. Like it was mentioned, we do have shared services. We have the sewer, the water, and the policing and other services as well. So I think we need to work with the other communities and seek efficiency, see where we can improve our services, and see if there is opportunity without amalgamating, but just to work more effectively together.
Amalgamation was the big ticket item when I first ran in 1996. Then they disguised it. The next time it was reviewed, it was restructuring review. Now it's a governance review. It's all the same thing. She mentioned the fire hall, and I'm very close to the fire hall. I touch base with the chief and the firefighters every other day, and that would be a big cost. But there's another point of this that a lot of people don't recognize and understand. There's a big group of people in this town that go underrated and under-recognized, and that's the town workers. They bend over backwards for us, and nobody pats them on the back and nobody applauds them, and I'd like to do that. Because Courtney, as you well know from reading the newspaper articles and hearing it on the news, buy more staff, and that's the answer. Keep your staff happy, keep them busy, and they'll do well for us, and we'll progress in the future without thinking about becoming one community.
Sorry, Bob, you're going to have to figure it out, because we're not joining. We have unique communities. All three of them are unique. Some are more unique than others, Bob. I agree with shared regional services, but I also think we need to do shared purchasing of items as well to reduce costs. So there's a few other things that we can look at, and yeah, let's see what we can do together.
I'm not going again, Bob.
Thank you. All right, the next question is, what strategy do you support to provide better services to youth in our community?
I do like that I get to be the first to answer the youth services question, as despite all the gray going through my hair, I do feel quite youthful. When I was growing up, I didn't have a ton of time for the amount of sports that we played. It seemed every night of the week we were out and we were playing sports, and if it wasn't here, it was in another town. That being said, that's not for everybody. I can remember when I was going to school at Rob Road, here at the rec center, they had a youth center that people could come to at night. I thought that that was great. As I said, I didn't spend a ton of time there myself, but I know a lot of people that did and really liked it. There is right now a good sports and social club league in the town. However, that is geared toward people above 19, which doesn't always help. But if they could almost get something like that going for people a little bit younger, I think that would be really great. And that's pretty much everything I have on that.
Yeah, with the growing number of youth in town, it is definitely imperative that we look into giving them something to do and some support. If you're over 6, you we basically lose a lot of mental health support or services for the kids. Now, I went to Highland and graduated with actually a couple of people in this room. And I do know that the instances of anxiety and depression and things like that in children and teens is not going down. So having something like that youth center that has supports and things to do to keep people busy, keep them active and involved in their community, and always make sure that they have somebody there that they can actually talk to and reach out to, because they don't always want to talk to parents or grandparents. We would be able to hopefully fund that by collaborating with other youth programs and nonprofits so that we can really succeed in that area.
So either we were very lucky or very good, but as parents, our daughter never left us. She stayed and we walked every night from the time she was able to walk. We walked every night. And we walked through Comox, and she graduated Highland. She had things to do. Sports, dance, music. Let's build a theater. You're going to hear that more from me if you elect me. Let's build a theater. Let's do things for kids. Every time, the only thing that betrays me from thinking I'm 16 is my reflection in the mirror. And so my wife will tell you that as well. It's a curse. It is. But it's also one of the best things I can bring to you on council is that I can think like a youth, and sometimes too much so. But we need our kids to be busy. We need to talk to them consistently. They need to have an outlet with their peers. And I think it's just so important that there's diversity. You know, there's more than sports, more than dance, more than theater, more than music.
Thank you. I think we did a great job with our marina park, getting the splash park, but that is for younger kids, and it's left the older children, but not that much to do down there. So I think it would be great to get together with the youth and see what they think would work. When my boys were growing up, our house was the gathering place, but I know that not everybody is able to do that. So we need to explore with the youth, and I know that one of the questions in one of the surveys that we had was, would you support building a youth center? And I would certainly like to look at something like that.
Thank you. I agree. As someone who has a family, there's plenty of services for kind of the under the 10, under 11. In the 11 to 19, there seems to be a gap where the youth center that used to be here is no longer available. So looking at a youth center involving the high schools and getting a committee to get some of the feedback and looking at the cost of that, I think is an essential idea. Some of the opportunities I do see is also activities that can support a range of groups. So community gardens, you could have teenagers working with seniors, working with families, and it could attract a diverse group of people to do that. So other spaces that would be inclusive could be lounges that were open for not just 19 plus, and other arts facilities such as Patrick has said, which we are underfunded in the arts in Comox locally. Normally we go to Courtney. And last thing, I think we should really involve them in the political scene and be involving our high schools in that process so they're prepared when they turn 19, as the average voter turnout is around 65 to 70. So we need to involve our youth in that.
Yeah, lots more. This is something I hear from families when I'm walking around neighborhoods, in rat cars, asking people what they'd like to see in Comox. The family age folks says we need more for youth. So we need a youth center, some more ideas, or a BMX skate park, family-friendly dining after 5 p.m. at Town Comox, expanded pathway network for more biking and walking safely off the road, and even more post-secondary education as folks start to age and start to make that transition towards the job. Why don't we have, an NIC satellite in Comox that has trades program and apprenticeships and mentorships that will help carry our youth from being young into fully independent adults. And so we need that lifestyle, I think, long term. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things things I will give Bob credit for is the link over in Courtney. I think that's a great program for the kids, and we used to have that. I've lived in Comox for 22 years. My kids are 31 and 28. I've got grandkids here, but we had the link here, or a type of link here, and it was good. The kids could go in there. My grandson goes to a boys and girls club after school. But you know what? I mentioned earlier about where our tax dollar goes, the 18 different hands. It doesn't say anything about youth in there. It says Comox Valley Recreation Complexes, but nothing for Comox. We talk about affordable housing. We talk about a lot of different things, and these are all worthwhile ventures. But our children are something we need to invest in, and I think that's what we need to start looking at. I would like to take what we have in this great renovated building and expanded building and put a type of link in here. I think that'd be great for the kids. I know it'd be great for my grandkids.
I've been on the same train as everyone else. I think there needs to be a youth drop-in center in town. Nothing against Bob Wells, but the link is a scary spot to go to on a Friday night when it's dark. So if we can do something here at the rec center, encourage kids or youth to participate in the town, so having community gardens, having a pump track. Let's get them interested in mountain biking. Look at Cumberland, we're in the mecca of mountain biking in the world. Let's get a skate park, let's get them interested in politics, and I really wish the school trustees were on this panel, because I think they'd have some great insight on this. I don't know, Tanya, if you're here, or Randy, but shout out to you guys. So yeah, just on the youth drop-in center, and if we can go in that direction, I'm sure there's a lot of us here that would be more than happy to volunteer, spend some time, and invest in our youth that are essentially the future of this town.
Before the rec center was run by the town, they had a rec commission, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know, there was people here that might have been able to answer that, but I think they had a youth component. And the wing of this building that was torn down to build this wing was called the Centennial Wing. That wing was wired and plumbed to accommodate a swimming pool. And they had a group that said, no, we need the swimming pool in Courtney. So they built the swimming pool in Courtney, and then they said, well, where's the second one going to go? And this is a number of years later. They said, well, let's put it in Courtney too. But what they didn't realize is that when they wired and plumbed this building for swimming pools, that Comox was promised a swimming pool. Comox was promised a skating rink. Oh no, when the time came, nothing was recorded, there's no minutes of any meetings, there's no letters of understanding. I think what we've got to do to get back to what was promised to us in the first place, and that's to get a swimming pool and an arena for our youth. And I do believe that they need a committee of youth to decide to ask the youth what they want, because I think they would be more better understanding their needs than we do.
Yeah, I agree. Let's ask the youth what they want, instead of coming up with all sorts of stuff. There's lots of stuff going on. Pat mentioned a bunch of stuff. He didn't mention the cadet programs. I was an air cadet, and that was a great program. So I know some of you don't like the gliding program and all the noise that but hey, we're at an airport. Come on. One of the things that we did at Living Hope as we grew is we wanted to give back to the community. And one of the ways that we did that is when we hired a youth worker, we paid him to work at the link. And I think we can do that here too. We can get some service organizations together and say, hey, we want you to budget and support hiring a youth worker for the community of Comox. Yes, he's stationed at the link or whatever we build, but he's also out there at McDonald's and at the Woods behind the French School and the other places that they tend to hang out.
Thanks, Ron. Well, I thought the last to get a question would be easy, except that everybody's already said what I wrote down. So I do like the link. I know my gal Di has a bunch of kids, and I didn't really know a lot about the link until then. And it actually is a really good service, and the kids really enjoy using it. I think that we run quite a few good programs at the rec center. I know they've just started doing some youth programming in after school time, but I think we could do more of that. I think the water park was a great start at Marina Park, but I think there's more we could do there. And I actually wrote down that Pat should start a theater group in Comox. I know, but you want us to pay to go to that one.
if elected, what measures will you take to preserve and protect historically significant heritage sites in the town of Comox?
Looking around and having lived here for as long as I have, I've noticed that we have lost a lot of our heritage sites. The Lorne burning down, it's still sorely missed. And I did see and kind of disliked the plans that they had up there for a while. But with the new council and fresh eyes, we can incorporate maybe aspects of the Lorne. When it comes to Mac Lang, I know that it is with the courts, but I would hope that with the new council and again some fresh eyes, we can collaboratively revisit the subject and find a project that honors Mac Lang and his incredible contributions and save the tax dollars on that we would spend on courts. Yeah, I think we could look forward and try and preserve what we've got of our heritage and green spaces at this point, because we don't have a lot left.
Yeah, no one should be allowed to walk downtown with matches in Comox. So, Martin Luther King said, we are not makers of history, we are made by history. And so, when we think about heritage, and when we think about arts, and we think about culture, that's the stuff that binds us to the earth, right? And it gives us that release. When I was at Home Depot, and you were doing like a myriad of things in a $40 million business, it was nice to come home and sing a song, or to walk a museum, or to just do something that wasn't focused on business all day and the monstrous effort that it is. When I think about history and Comox, I think about the Philberg. It's right beside my house now. I can walk there. It's amazing. I think about the Air Force Museum. I think obviously about the galleries, and I think about Mac Lang. And I've met with the Mac Lang Society. I spent an hour and a half with them. I know it's in the courts. I don't actually know why it's in the courts. I really don't care why it's in the courts. I think at some point 40 years ago, the town of Comox maybe has made a mistake, and we need to really think about how we're going to honor the intent of Mac Lang.
Well, I recognize that there aren't a lot of heritage buildings that are left in Comox. I've been sitting as a liaison to the Philberg board for the last 7 years, and I do recognize what a great deal of time and energy goes into preserving those kinds of sites, and the amount of hours that the volunteers put into keeping it up and running. So it's always a challenge when you have a building and a property that is old and you want to preserve it, that you have the money to sustain it. So I have to say that I am quite proud of the council's work with Mac Lang and trying to come to a resolution of something that's been outstanding for 35 years. So I think that the time that we spent developing a plan really does honor his legacy, and I guess we'll see what the court decides.
Thank you. I think we're lucky here in Comox that we do have the Air Force Museum, we have the Philberg Lodge, we have the Heritage Museum, so we have some great places that we can take our families to. We have business events in these places, so we're very lucky to have these heritage sites that we do have, albeit there's a handful of them that we're blessed to have them. Meeting with the Mac Lang group about the Shape Sides building and the legacy and some of the challenges they've had since 1982. Without putting any negativity on the current council and mayor, I do really think, as Steph said, that fresh eyes is a nice word to it. We have no attachments to some of the work that's been done over the last 10 years and the conflict, and to see it in court and in taxpayers' dollars for lawyers, I think it's really important to see if we can do a second look with committee work and try and find a win-win, because we're talking about great people on both sides. And I think it's really important to try to do some reconciliation there, because you're talking about good people that are trying to honor what they think is right. And I'm hoping that there's going to be a win-win finally after many years.
I wish I had more than a minute. So Mac Lang is really, where we need to put a stake in the ground for heritage. And as something we owe Mackline for what he gave us, but as an opportunity for a real point of pride in our community. Mackline was a national hero, he's a national treasure. Over 6,000 specimens across the country, over hundreds of articles. And he takes up, his memoirs take up 26 feet of shelving space in the BC archives. This is a man who should be celebrated. This is a point of pride in our community. We ought to have not only give him the nature house that he asked for public use, we ought to have bird bonds, we ought to have canopy walks rising into the trees. This could be a fantastic opportunity to really, one more thing, put Comox on the map. And I'd like to see that happen.
Thank you. The Filbert Lodge is a perfect example of a historically protected site. We recently approved the condo that's going by the Comox Mall on 17 Balmoral. We looked at many different ways to save that building. It was determined that it couldn't be moved. There was many different attachments to that building. So Maureen sits on the Filbert Lodge. It just so happened I was her alternate one night, and I went to the meeting. They were talking about some of the challenges they had. So what we did was we put the Filbert Lodge folks connecting with the developer. They were able to take a lot of the material off of that building and store it, use it for the Filbert. A lot of the plumbing was the same. The wood was the same. That was a win-win, and that's what we're doing with protecting our heritage. We're going to look at working with the community and move forward on it. Thanks.
I think it'll definitely be on a case-by-case basis, but I know the question is probably about Mac Lane, so I'm going to speak to that. So when I first decided to run for council, I was all in favor of that platform, but I think the more I learned into it and spoke to residents, I think the Mac Lane property is an amazing opportunity. What a gathering place that could be if we restore it, if we make it into a meeting room, we make it into a museum. Let's put some community gardens there, let's plant more fruit trees, nut trees. Let's connect that to a walkway that connects to the downtown core and make that like a destination. I think we have a great opportunity here in our hands, and I think we just need to move forward and maybe just acknowledge that there's some mistakes that have been made in the past, and we can reconciliate that and go from there.
Well, our heritage is not completely lost. Longland's house is in Cumberland. Bill Deputy's house went to Royston. Frida Barr's house is somewhere out west Saratoga Beach. So if you've been around long enough to know who they were, you will realize what some of the heritage of the town was. It's a shame that they didn't pick up the main street and move it back onto the golf course when they built that Glen Street restaurant, because we would have something replicating Barkerville, and it would be a great tourist attraction. I think what happened was the town used to have a heritage committee, and everything that had to get decided had to be reviewed by the heritage committee, and for some reason that got put aside. I think that they should reform the Heritage Committee. I think regardless of what the court outcome is, the people involved with this are still very passionate about the Mackline House, and I'm very passionate about it. I would like to see it restored. I think the money got somewhere else. I don't know the ins and outs of all of it. They used to rent it out. It's not rented out tomorrow. I think the user group and the town, the new town council, should sit down, put their heads together, come up with a proposal, present that proposal to the entire community to see what we can do, what's right for the overall community.
I'm a firm believer in history, and I think history helps us shape the present, and it guides us into the future. And so whatever we can do to preserve the history, going back even before the earliest settlers, we have to look at First Nations, because they have a lot of history, and we need to preserve theirs as well.
Thank you. So the question was, if elected, what would you say heritage buildings? I believe that you need to get heritage designation into your OCP and your zoning. And then you have to be ready to fund these projects when you do them. But if you truly want to save the heritage, then you have to actually get it into your zoning and your OCP bylaws.
again, I do believe this was probably directed towards the Mac Lang Park. Obviously, it is in the courts, as Steph had mentioned. You know, it would be really nice to have a fresh set of eyes where it concerns. Hopefully, we can come to a reasonable solution with it that's going to best suit both sides of the equation. Russ touched on the Filbert. It's a beautiful location that I know I love going down there. Probably don't do it as much as I nearly should. Where we have the opportunity with buildings that are either being taken down and new buildings erected, such as the Church Street Tap House. You know, they've taken out a bunch of lumber in there and they're incorporating it into the sign and trying to really keep the old Comox involved as what they have. Ken touched on working with heritage groups and getting it into the OCP to make sure that that's part of the plan as we're moving forward and we're setting up the community. And we need to work with them, with the heritage groups, both provincially and nationally, to see what kind of money we can do from them.
All right, thank you very much. I'm especially aware of the people that have been standing all night at the back. Boy, bravo to you. That was the last question that we have time for tonight, but at least we'll allow a little bit more time to have a chance to do one-on-ones with candidates if they're not too exhausted at this point. Again, it's such a privilege to be in this community. How respectfully you've been tonight of these candidates and the type of thoughtful questions that were proposed to them. Equally, the answers that you got were thoughtful, they were creative, resourceful, and they were answered directly. So everyone, I think, deserves kudos tonight. Would you please give a round of thanks? Also a thank you, because I think we may have streaming tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful, it worked. Bob Wells got more publicity than he deserved. And Terry Farrell, thank you so much. You do a great job with the record. Please feel free to mingle. Thank you.
I asked Bob Wells, what is the link?
Give me 1 second.